we're going to talk about the pursuit of happiness a little bit, but we're going to talk about the pursuit of other things and being pursued. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with a certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So how many have taken advantage of that opportunity that we have? What makes you happy? As we have talked even in the song service and through the different messages this month, we are pursued. We are given by God. We are the one who is guiding us. The good shepherd is the one that pursues the sheep, not really pursuing them, but when they're lost and going the wrong direction, he has to pursue them. And that's what in Matthew chapter 6 and verses 25 through 34, we're going to see some of the things that should help us in our pursuit of happiness. Matthew chapter 6, verse 25, beginning, it says, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes?" So are you happy because you got good clothes? I am. Are we happy because we have good food? Wow. This is the time of year, isn't it? If you got gardens or friends that have gardens, and the blessing of good food. In so many ways, we are blessed, and we, in our search, our pursuit of happiness, we have the right things to help us find it. Are you not much, let's see, look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet our heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you by worrying add a single hour to your life? So we're blessed, and in our pursuit of happiness, we have many good things. Why do you worry? He says next. And that's a good question. If we are in our pursuit of happiness, we've been very successful. Why do we worry? See, the flowers of the field, they grow, they do not labor or spin, yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today, and tomorrow it is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you? So we have one that is keeping track of us. We'll talk about different ways it's a pursuit, but he's keeping track of us and blessing us with the happiness and many things that come with it. Have you ever been pursued? We're going to get down to the scary pursuit kind of situation. I've had some scary times. Not really. But what about bees and hornets? See, I've been pursued by them. Bob says, lay down flat and let them fly over you. You can try that if you want. At the same time, the other option is to run from them, and you can try that if you want. So we're pursued by little things. I was pursued one time as I was out playing with our colt. This was when I was a kid. And just sort of dreamy, like lazy day. And then I looked around, and it was in the little pasture. It was probably my uncle's horse pasture, but it was a small pasture where he kept the bull, and whatever else had to go there. And there was a colt in there that I was playing with. And looked around, and there's this big black bull lumbering towards me fairly fast. I had no idea what he was doing, but I didn't make sense that he was coming my way that fast. So probably the only time I've ever vaulted a 48-inch woven wire as clean as that one. It was, but we get pursued by things. Our neighbors back then, Australian shepherds, pursued every car that went by, but they pursued us when we went by with a bicycle, and that wasn't so pleasant. But he also pursued tractors that went by. I either was on a bicycle or a tractor, but I always wondered what would he do if he caught the tractor. But have you ever been pursued? Well, one time by the mafia. Maybe it wasn't. But one time I had several ways to go from where I worked in Ottumwa to Sigourney, South Sigourney, where we lived, and there was all these country roads, and I figured you might as well get to know them. It was fun, and some of them might have been a shortcut. But one day, when they were windy and different, it wasn't this sensible route where you went 2, 3 different numbers, but I pulled off the residential area street onto a country road, and the country road wound around up down some sort of crooked roads because of the creeks and stuff. And early on, I know there was a car kind of close behind me, and then I started taking these strange turns that I had planned to take anyway, and he'd follow right behind me every time. And why did he follow me so long and so close? You can start, if you're a young kid with lots of imagination or whatever, coming up with all kinds of ideas. And it was taking the most rural routes, but and so I didn't try real evasive action. I could have, but I thought that might be a wrong thing to do. What in the world is this about? And of course, it finally came to the logical end. He turned into a barnyard, a farmstead, and never saw him again. Waiting for your fate, and it turns out to be nothing. That's the way it goes. So being prepared, not always a pleasant thing. If they catch you, what are they going to do with you? Whether some gang or maybe it's a big cat. Have I ever told you that I was followed through the boreal forest by a Siberian tiger? You probably think I've never been in a boreal forest, but I have. You have too. And I was followed by a Siberian tiger. We'll think about it a little more. So we question, who's chasing who? Who's in this life? Are they pursuing me, or are they pursuing me to do evil to me, or are they pursuing me to do good for me? And that's the point of our message. We have someone who wants to catch us and direct us in the right direction before we go too far in the wrong. That's one side. Or we have someone who just wants to catch us and take us down. When I first heard this theme, the thought came to me, in pursuit of righteousness and God directing it. I knew there was a poem, The Hound of Heaven. Okay, that's I heard that and I thought I knew the concept, but I looked it up and found the poem and read it and discovered it wasn't as good as I thought. It's a poem. In my mind, it was a coon hunter back those days too, and I liked hounds a lot, and so a hound was a good thing. But and I thought that was the Hound of Heaven would be the story of the parable of the Good Shepherd, sent out to find the lost sheep and using the talents for that purpose. Okay, that's one of the pursuits, just ideas we want to think about today. But in this case, the poem is about, I thought it would be like the Good Shepherd and how we have somebody that's trying to find us and trying to help us. But no, the poem is the story of a person who doesn't want to be found. They don't want to be found, and they don't want to be stopped doing what they're doing, and that's the poem is a complaint. Why are you bugging me all the time? I want to do it my way. And is upset that God won't call off his hounds. So we need to be alert. So anyway, that's what the poem's about, and that's a lot of times we look at our life and our past, And we have a choice of being happy or sad about it. God is trying to direct us in the right direction, sometimes by putting things into our life that aren't all that pleasant, but they are pushing us in the right direction. And we should accept that and do what God wants us to do. We should be alert to God's purposes and his influence in our life and try to accept that influence in the way it should be. We had the summer, our teaching has been on the heroes of Hebrews. And I just thought in Hebrews 11, verse 6, it tells us what we should focus on, the direction we want to go, the thing we should pursue, and that's what we're going to be, and things that we should seek. Hebrews 11, verse 6, it says, "And without faith it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him." And then chapter 13, verse 14, okay, we're pursuing that reward. And that pursuit is what our life should be. We should be pursuing that. Chapter 13 and verse 14, it says, "For here we do not have an enduring city, but we are looking for a city that is to come. Through Jesus, therefore, let us continually offer to God a sacrifice of praise, the fruit of lips that openly profess his name." We are to seek the things that God has prepared for us and be blessed by that. First Peter chapter 5, we're in that neck of the woods in our Bibles, if you're turning there. 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 8 and 9, it says, "Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Resist him. Stand firm in the faith, because you know that the family of believers throughout the world is undergoing the same kind of suffering." Okay, be alert and sober and aware that you're being pursued by not just uncertain things, but we have a certainty that the devil is trying to get us to go the wrong way, and he does it like a lion, big cat. So when I was followed through the woods by a tiger, I could also turn around and pick him up and hold him in my arms. That same tiger, last I knew, I haven't seen him for a while, but he could pick up a roadkill deer, a full-size deer, and jump up onto his 6-foot platform carrying it. He's changed, but I still, it was the tiger at Animal Lands. I was helping her with a fence or something one time and playing with him, and then put him down and he'd follow you wherever you went. Now I've got a story about being followed by big cats, a big cat or whatever. But anyway, we know that the devil is a powerful force that we must be, he's pursuing us, but we need to have the protection of somebody that's involved with this pursuit as well. I got 2 stories this morning. One is from the internet, the first one. So that leaves you with uncertainty on validity. The next one is from Reader's Digest, and so there's no doubt about that one. But anyway, the one from internet, it was pretty neat. There was these 2 people, husband and wife, Westerners, I presume. They had 2 mules. They were going for a nice ride. Beautiful day for a ride on their mules with their 2 dogs. And they were well equipped. They had well-trained mules, and on their way, as they were riding out, they met a mountain lion. He leaped out, and after one of the dogs, saw them coming, prepared for them. He was seeking whom he may devour, and he jumped out with obviously focused on the dogs. And the man jumped off his mule, pulled out his gun. He was equipped, and but it wouldn't fire right. You might think that's part of it, but it happens. It happens quite often, and so his mule, and as a result of him jumping off, ran away, and he still couldn't get it to shoot. And meanwhile, his wife on the other mule was taking pictures. That worked. She got some pictures. But here's the neat part. His mule ran away and then stopped and looked back and saw that there was trouble. He knew there was trouble, but he actually decided to go back and join into the fray. Came back, grabbed the mountain lion in his jaws, teeth, and shook him and beat him on the ground with it until he went limp, and then he reared up and tromped on him, took care of him. And I thought, wow, that's the mule you'd want. Where am I? Anyway, that's what we need, isn't it? Somebody that's brave and strong, that's willing to take in the situation and protect us. And that's the kind of person that deals with the situation. And whether that friend is a mule or a search and rescue club member, we need somebody to help us sometimes. And that's what we are here for. We need to be the one pursuing others that they might have the right direction in their life. So this is from Reader's Digest, actually this month's issue, and I think it fits our story where we need to pursue those who are going the wrong way and bring them back. Pam Bales was her name, from New Hampshire. Mount Washington State Park was close to where she lived, and out for a hike on a stormy winter day. Well, actually, it was a fall day, October, and a stormy day on the mountain doesn't sound like a sensible thing to do, but so I like to go hunting on a stormy day. It's amazing and it's awesome, and she was a person that knew what you should do. Out for a hike on what was forecast to be a stormy day on a mountain that reached above tree level, and looking forward to the beauty and the awesomeness, and a fairly short hike. Actually, she intended to spend a few hours, but planning to be out several hours, so she was well prepared for various contingencies. And she was well trained. She was a member of the Penobscot Valley Search and Rescue Team. And as you might expect, the way things happened, the storm was more severe and moved in quicker. That was a big thing than predicted. But no problem. She not only had her route picked out, but she had another route if she would need to make it quicker. And so she chose to do that. The only thing she was required to do was get back to the car. That's what she thought. And there was even an easier way to do that. There was a jewel trail that they were following, and she chose the Gulf Side Trail that was even shorter and more direct. But when she made that switch, she'd been seeing tracks in the snow, but thought they were from the day before. But when she switched to that other trail, she saw that they were definitely out there ahead of her. Somebody was out there, and it was sneakers. Now, you probably sort of figured out the type of lady she was, and you got to wear the right clothes, have the right poles, all that good stuff. And these were tennis shoes, not hiking boots. And and they were. It was now, no doubt. I mean, there was no way somebody was not ahead of her out there, because they would have come back past her. And they were made by somebody that was still out there ahead of her somewhere. Somebody just wearing tennis shoes, probably not dressed right in other ways either. And then the tracks turned off the trail. That's a bad deal. Now she was alarmed. For her part, no alarm. It was a good trail down into the trees and over to her car, but the tracks were going away from the car and into the huge trailless wilderness area. It was putting her at great risk if she would follow them, and the tracks, even for a little while. She followed the tracks and kept calling out. Not too far, she found a man sitting between some boulders, staring off into the storm and unresponsive. She says, "Oh, hello," but he didn't respond. Shorts, jacket, sneakers, and no hat. Well, at that point, a switch had to flip, and she flipped the switch, and she knew already, we already knew, that Pam was one of those that was always be prepared type people. And she was, but was she in time? Into this foil blanket, strategically placed these chemical warmers. I was given these a long time and sort of thought they were a joke. All you have to do is wrinkle it all up and you stick it in your, well, she knew all the right places. Different places where it warms the body the important way. And sure enough, they do work. And that's from my experience, that they get warm. And they stay warm for several hours. But the story tells me they work better than I thought, and they would. The foil blanket, and then all these warmers in the places that you're supposed to put them. And so she did all that. And then she'd already put on several layers. She'd started out with a sleeveless shirt, and of course it worked her way up. She still had several layers left, and so she put some of her outer layer stuff on the guy, and then she gave him hot cocoa with energy cubes in it, and this was wasting time. The storm was getting worse. It was getting darker. But what else could they do? And in an hour, he was standing up and walking with help. And so down the mountain they went. And he fell one time, and said he couldn't get up. He just go on without me. He tried. He basically didn't say anything the whole time. He wasn't talking, wasn't communicating. He was finally consented to getting up, and he was able to walk. And then he fell and said, "I give up. I don't want you to rescue me. Save yourself." And she said, "That is not an option." And she said, "That's not an option. You suck it up and keep going." And she offered continuous encouragement, even though the last stretch had some, after that, there was one last stretch before the parking lot where their cars both were. They made it back. Pam asked him a lot of reasonable questions, and he didn't answer, just thanked her and drove away. That's was the end of the story for her for a while. And I'll read this direct. Standing there astonished and alone in the darkness, Bales said to no one, "What just happened?" Bales wouldn't get an answer until a week later, when the president of her rescue group received a letter in the mail, a donation tucked between its folds. It read, "I hope this reaches the right group of rescuers. This is hard to do, but must try. Part of my therapy. I want to remain anonymous, but I was called John on Sunday, October 17th. I went up my favorite trail, Jewel, to end my life. Weather was to be bad. Thought no one else would be there. I was dressed to go quickly. Next thing I knew, this lady was talking to me, changing my clothes, giving me food, making me warmer. She just kept talking and calling me John, and I let her. Finally learned her name was Pam. Conditions were horrible, and I said to leave me and get going, but she wouldn't. Got me up, had me stay right behind her, still talking. I followed, but I did think about running off. She couldn't see me, but I wanted to only take my life, not anybody else's, and I think she would have tried to find me. The entire time she treated me with compassion, authority, confidence, and the impression that I mattered. With all that was been going wrong in my life, I didn't matter to me, but I did to Pam. She probably thought I was the stupidest hiker dressed like I was, but I was never put down in any way, chewed out, yes, in a kind way. Maybe I wasn't meant to die yet. I somehow still mattered in life. I became very embarrassed later on and never really thanked her properly. If she is an example of your organization, you must be the best group around. Please accept a small offer of appreciation for her effort to save me way beyond the limits of safety. No, did not seem to be in her mind. I have a new direction thanks to wonderful people like yourselves. I got your name from her pack patch and bumper sticker. My deepest thanks, John. So I thought that was a good example of the kind of pursuer we need to be, pursuing things to the right extent. We're seeking the lost. I found two songs that I thought were really neat, but we'll only sing one, I guess. Now it's shut. 624. There it is. "624" in our book is a song about what Jesus did in being our pursuer. And it's very similar to the story we just read. And we are the ones that are lost and doing the wrong things. And he's the one that we help find those. And there's a second person we are. We are a person like this Pam. We need to make our best effort to be, and help bring the lambs back to Jesus.